And welcome back to The Watchman. We are taking you this week inside a very special region called Iraqi Kurdistan. But it's fitting that I'm in Jerusalem right now because Kurdish Jews have a special link to this city. In fact, tens of thousands of Kurdish Jews live right here in God's holy city. Dr. Mordecai Zaken is an expert on the history of the Jews in Iraqi Kurdistan, and he joined us recently to share their incredible story. Take a look. Well, Moti, thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
You are the perfect man to have on with us here on The Watchman because so much is going on with the Kurds right now, especially in Syria. Okay, let's start with a little bit of the history of the Kurdish people. Who are they and where are they based?
Well, today, the Kurdish people, and this is one of their tragedies, that they are divided among 5 countries. 4 in the Middle East, which means in Turkey, in Iraq, in Syria, and in Iran, and 1 in the former Soviet Union, basically in Armenia, in Azerbaijan, in Tajikistan, in the Islamic countries. So you have the main problem of the Kurds, which are a tribal society, tribes that have been living in the area for hundreds of years, that they have been suppressed and oppressed by all the regimes in which boundaries they live.
We once had, it may shock some people to know, a large Jewish population in Iraqi Kurdistan. Tell us a little bit about the history. Shouldn't be that much of a surprise to people, actually, if you read your Bible. Babylon, Persia, there was a Jewish presence, obviously, in those lands. But tell us a little bit about the history of the Jewish people in the Kurdish regions.
Yes, as you rightly pointed out, the Jews were exiled from Samaria and from Israel during the 7th century before Christ into the area which is approximately in Assyria, in current Kurdistan.
Yeah.
And they settled there. I guess that the Kurdish Jews believe that they are the exiles from Assyria. They lived
Some
there
of
for
the lost tribes.
The lost tribes.
Yeah, the 10 lost tribes. Maybe
Yes.
they...
They were the subject, the fascinating subject of many travelers who were looking for them. But the Jews and the Assyrians of Kurdistan still spoke the language, the Aramaic language, and they were the minorities in this area with the Muslim Kurds who were the majority. So we have had hundreds of small communities of Jews in Iraq, in Turkey, in Syria, and Iran, up until the establishment...
In Muslim lands.
In Muslim land, up until the establishment of the State of Israel, up until approximately the 20th century.
Wow.
So, and then most of the people, the overwhelming majority of the people left and came to Israel. They live here mostly in Jerusalem, but also in many agricultural villages.
A large Kurdish population here in Israel.
Yes, it is pretty large. People say by now, about 200,000 people.
And Moti, you have Kurdish ancestry in your own family, right?
Yes, that's right, yes. I am from a Kurdish origin, my father and my mother, and my grandfather's side. And so I am curious about this. I was very curious about this society. As I told you, I started writing.
Yeah. You've written great books about this.
Thank you. I began with a term paper about Kurdistan when I was a student, and I realized there was hardly anything in written. So I started interviewing people, just like you were doing it, and you know how fascinating it is.
Yeah. When I was in Kurdistan, a lot of the Peshmerga generals I interviewed spoke very fondly of Israel. Tell us about that special relationship between the Kurds and Israel.
Yes, you're right, Eric. Israel actually helped the Kurds of Iraq, and not all the Kurds of Iraq, but the Kurds of the KDP, of the Kurdistan Democratic Party. There's still a lot of good memories and sympathy between the Kurdish people and the Israeli people. And now when in the KRG, the Kurdish Regional Government, was created, there is some sort of contact. that I cannot discuss in details, but you understand the sympathy is there, the mutual sympathy, the mutual empathy between this, and there's similarity. And the Kurds, they say to themselves, if Israel managed to have independent state in an area surrounded by so many enemies, why can't we, the Kurds, succeed, just like Israel, to have our independent state even though we are surrounded by enemies? That's a model for role model for the Kurds.
Up next, my final thoughts on why you should care about the Kurds. Don't move.